Hey everybody, welcome back to the Chazman Show. On today's show, we're going to go over the weekend box office, Steven Spielberg versus Netflix and the Academy Awards, and we might even talk a little bit about Captain Marvel and weekend predictions. Well, hey there, everybody. I'm glad you could join me for another edition of the Chazman Show. Today is March the 4th, and the weekend box office. We're going to touch base on that in just a second. But first, we want to start off with some bad news. I mean, you may have heard Luke Perry died today after a massive stroke. He was 52 years old. Most people are going to remember this guy as Dylan on 90210, which ran from 1990 to 2000, and then more recently, he was on Riverdale for 52 episodes. Now, here's the thing. This guy has over 95 credits on IMDb, so it wasn't like he was ever really out of work or looking for work. This guy was, steadfast, going out, working, doing jobs, doing something. So that's what you need to do, I guess, in order to create a nice career for yourself. Not one to rest on his laurels, apparently. So, a lot of people, I didn't really watch the show. On 90210 from 1990 to 2000. I had a baby boy at home, and that was the majority of my time. It was, working a couple of jobs and trying to take care of him, make sure he had plenty of diapers and food and all that good stuff. And then 1993, my daughter came along. So yeah, in that space, my goodness, there was just no time for TV. So I'm not really familiar with his work. However, I'm aware of it. So anyhow, so the people that were big fans of Luke Perry, I'm sorry you have your loss there. Now, on a side note, I'm an actor, so what I did was I drafted a letter today, sending condolences to the movie studio, the TV studio that he worked on. I may have included my headshot, my reel, and my resume, but that's beside the point. That's just what I do. Anyhow, moving on. Weekend box office. Okay, not a whole lot of surprises out there. How to Train Your Dragon 3 hit the box office, and that was the big winner there with $30 million. It's in its second week, but that was the winner. Tyler Perry's Death at a Funeral, or whatever it's called, the Medea funeral, that opened up its debut week with $27 million. So the Dragon beat Medea. And then you got Alita Battle Angel. It's in its third week. Now, the difference between 1, 2, and 3 is like this, okay? So you got How to Train Your Dragon with $30 million in its second week. You've got the Medea Funeral in its first week with $27 million. And down in third place, a big jump down or a big fall down is Alita Battle Angel with $7 million. Okay, now number 4 spot is the Lego Movie, the second part. And fifth spot is Fighting with My Family with $4.6 million. So it kind of gives you an idea of just how hungry and how lackadaisical people are. They're hungry for a good movie, and everything else just kind of falls to the wayside. But on another note, if you take a look in the 6th position, in its 16th week, Green Book brought in $4.5 million. So Mahershala Ali is responsible for a lot of that. He won an Academy Award in a supporting role last year, and then again for this year for the Green Book. So people are going to see that. And not to be outdone, I should say, Viggo Mortensen was up for an Academy Award for Best Actor. So, and then the Green Book also won Best Movie of the Year. So, there's a lot of fanfare about that. So if you got a chance, go out there and take a look at it. Oh, by the way, A Star is Born will be in movie theaters with additional 12 minutes up until this Friday, so maybe you can catch that out. Check that out. 12 additional minutes of footage Bradley Cooper put back into the movie, so that's going to be kind of cool. Almost everybody out there is doing the cover of Shallow right now. My goodness, I saw a duet the other night from Samuel L. Jackson and Brie Larson trying to do a little duet of Shallow. It was horrible, by the way. But what do you expect? Samuel L. Jackson does the singing on his commercials because he's Samuel L. Jackson, not because of his singing voice. Sorry, Sam. I'm a big fan, but, Stick to acting, my friend. Okay. Probably never get a movie with Samuel L. Jackson now. There is a big feud between Steven Spielberg and Netflix and the Academy Awards because Steven Spielberg feels that Academy Award nominated pictures should not be seen on Netflix. They should be at the movie theater, and I understand his point of view. He's saying that that Netflix equates to the equivalent of a TV movie. Now, I don't really believe that. I mean, Roma is definitely not a TV movie. However, there's been some stinkers out there at the movie theater too. So I don't know, but I think what it comes down to is this. I think maybe Steven Spielberg might be an idealist. He might be thinking that the people are going to be they're going to stop going to the movie theater altogether, basically because people are, well, if they have the convenience of seeing a brand new movie in their house versus driving out there, buying the popcorn, getting in line, and all that stuff that goes through. Now, that stuff I kind of enjoy, actually. And I'm not a big fan of the whole pre-purchase ticket thing either. I think it's the adventure of going to the movies. Get there a little early, get your concessions, find the best seats, and then wait for the movies. Watch the people funneling in, and you've got communal experience you get from watching a movie with other people. I think that's great. I mean, let's face it, I don't laugh as loud or as hard as at movies at home as I would, in an entire movie theater filled with people who get it. I mean, from a stand-up comic point of view, let me tell you, doing stand-up comedy for a bunch of other comics is the most drudgerous thing you can do because they're not really paying attention. And they're thinking about what they're going to say. So, and then then you could have like one or two people actually in the audience that are watching the comics. It's drudgery. It's not fun. But if you had 30, 40, 50, 1,000 people in there and they're all laughing at the same jokes, my goodness, even the worst joke sometimes gets a big laugh and it just ripples through the audience. But anyhow, back to the movie theater type thing, I think that Spielberg is right. You take away that element and it takes away the quality of the movie too. So there's going to be a meeting between Spielberg and Netflix and the Academy. So they're going to, they're going to hash out the whole thing to try to figure out some standing point where everybody is treated fairly in this scenario. When I was a kid, some of the other things that we did was we'd load up the car with me and my brother and mom and dad, and we'd hit the drive-in movie theater, and we'd bring our pillows, and we'd watch 2-3 movies, and we'd go get pizza and the whole thing. It was great. The only drive-in movie theater I know of right now in Maryland, which is where I'm coming from, is Benji's up in Baltimore, and I still find that experience very, very fun. My kids are outgrown me, but at this point, I'm looking forward to maybe 10 years from now, 12 years from now, 15 years from now, when I have grandkids, that kind of thing. I don't know. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But anyhow, we'll find out what's going on with when they have their meeting between Spielberg and Netflix and the whole thing. I mean, let's face it, Netflix is a streaming service. And they're out to make money in the quickest way possible. So I can see their point of view too. It's bringing art, which is a movie, to the general public in a forum that will make them money. Netflix movie numbers aren't even linked to a box office scenario, so you don't know what is really doing well or what's not doing well. Anyhow, that being said, let's see what happens with that whole meeting and so forth. But okay, so the next thing, moving on, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, I remember a situation I'll tell you real quick. I went to the movies one time with me and my family, and this is obviously way before you picked your seats in advance. It was 4 of us, and there were 5 seats in the movie theater. Well, there was one guy he wanted to sit right in the middle of us because he got there early enough. So there it was. My wife and daughter on this side, and my son and me on this side of this guy, and he wasn't budging. So of course, my son and I, we had to pass the popcorn between, him and me and him, and then my daughter and my wife, and so the guy was in the middle, and he got all mad. He went to see the manager. Guess who got kicked out? Me. Because I was the most vocal about it. And I had asked this guy if we could move over so we could all be together, but he had his point. He'd gotten there early enough to get his seat. Why he wanted to stay in the middle of 4 people, I don't know. Maybe he was lonely. I really don't know. But anyhow, that being said, there are pros and cons to the whole seat. Pick out your seat before you get there and all that good stuff. But you get there when you get there. Get there early. Enjoy it. It's an experience and it's an adventure. Excuse me. Okay. Last thing going on. We've got Captain Marvel opens up. Supposedly it's Friday, but really the first showings of this movie are going to be Thursday night. So that's going to be probably 7 o'clock show, and they count that into the weekend box office. Now, as I talked to you guys about this last week, Brie Larson had said some stuff about a certain demographic that kind of alienated a group of people out there, which brought the projections for her movie way, way down to what they were going to be. I think that this movie is going to fall in the same type of box office scenario as, say, Doctor Strange and the Ant-Man. Okay? Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's not going to do anywhere near the numbers that Endgame or the Avengers movies are going to be doing. Or have done, I should say. She's alienated a certain group.
I do not need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work for him about A Wrinkle in Time. It wasn't made for him.
Who knows what's going to happen at the box office this weekend? I don't think it's going to make anywhere more than $65 million this opening weekend. Whereas before, it was actually projected of upwards of $130 million. But, Brie Larson shot herself in the foot by alienating a group. And that's how the cookie crumbles. So, anyhow, what are your thoughts, guys? If you would, please like this video. Please subscribe. Please refer your friends. And leave me a note at the bottom. Let me, in the comments section. Let me know how you're feeling about these things. Let me know how you feel about the whole pick your seats before you go to the movie theater type situation. Let me know your stand on Spielberg versus Netflix. And again, people that are fans of Luke Perry, we're sorry for the loss. And I was just joking. I did not send my resume and a headshot out to the movie theaters or to the movie production companies. Though, I always think back to seeing people look in the obituaries when they're looking for a new apartment in New York City because they're looking for an opportunity. So who would blame me if I were to go ahead and, I'm going to say not me, let's say another person, a friend of mine, were to go ahead and send condolences along with their headshot, their resume, and their demo reel. I don't know. Anyhow, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts about things. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.